Joining us now on the Bobby V's hotline is one of our favorite people, Dom Amore from the Hartford Courant, joining the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell. It is Caitlin Clark Tuesday. And Dom, first of all, welcome back to the show. And I don't think we've ever been this excited for the beginning of the WNBA season ever.
Well, that's probably true of a lot of people. I don't think it's ever been anything quite like this. I mean, here in Connecticut, there's always been a pretty good level of enthusiasm. Connecticut Sun have a pretty big following, but as far as this nationwide hype and also maybe the enthusiasm for the Connecticut Sun and the WNBA that's not related to UConn, that's what's new, I think, as this season gets underway.
Totally true. I used to say for about 5 or 6 years, the best women's basketball player in the state of Connecticut was Jonquel Jones. And then when she left us and went to the Liberty, I've been saying for the last 2 years, best women's basketball player in the state of Connecticut is Alyssa Thomas. What does Alyssa Thomas think? Have you been able to talk to any of the CT Sun and get their thoughts of the shiny new toy that's coming to the WNBA named Caitlin Clark? Because last time I checked, I don't want to do any kind of wrong to Alyssa Thomas, or she'll put me in a headlock and ruin my life real quick.
You're right. Well, you know that she's obviously a very, very good player, a triple-double machine, and there aren't many of those. And I really think should have been the MVP of the league last year because, you know, where would the Connecticut Sun have been without her? Especially with Brianna Jones out for the year. So, but as far as I think most of the players understand that Caitlin Clark's arrival was putting money in their pockets. It's got charter planes. I mean, if that's not related to Caitlin Clark, it's quite a coincidence, isn't it, that they finally got the charter planes now. It's brought a new advertising opportunities, and and I think it's bound to bring more money. So, you know, much like, other players of this magnitude who've come into a league, she's going to create a rising tide that lifts all boats. But that doesn't mean that some of the better players, the veteran players, aren't going to have a little bit of probably resentment for all the attention that she's getting. But it's impossible not to give her the attention.
Let's dive into that because I don't understand. I know that a couple of the players, especially even Diana Taurasi, have said negative things about Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese or anybody coming in. You should be happy that this next wave is bringing so much focus and attention on, yes, you've been building it. You're the foundation. The girls 10 years ago, going back, we go back to Cheryl Miller. We go back to Nancy Lieberman if you want. Yeah. I'm old enough and you are to remember these players. But now, why would you show resentment publicly and make this kind of an awkward moment for your own sport?
Well, you really shouldn't. I mean, this would be the answer. I mean, it's not. Katie Lou Samuelson today, I thought said it. Brought up a point that now a lot of people in Indiana know all the other players on the team because of her. Now they go places and people recognize them and they called out their names because of the attention that she's brought to the entire team. That's what impact players like this do. I doubt that very many people, for instance, could name 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the AFL until Joe Namath became one of them. That's what players like this do. I doubt very many people could name a lot of soccer players until, Lionel Messi came to the United States and started playing, and now maybe they know more of the other good players in Major League Soccer. So that's the impact that a player like this has, and really you have to get over that. Any petty jealousy or resentment that you have over the attention, it really should not be expressed because, frankly, the attention that she's drawing shines a new light on everybody in this league and the entire league.
I totally agree with you guys, but I kind of like it because it builds a little bit of drama and animosity in this league that maybe needs a little bit every now and then.
That doesn't hurt either. Right. I've heard that theory floated that maybe a little controversy, a little rivalry is kind of something that this league needs. Maybe next year Paige Beckers comes in and you have a Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers thing several times a year and in a playoff series. Maybe that becomes a a Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio kind of thing, right?
Well,
Go ahead.
let me ask you this about just her style, because I keep on getting asked, like, why is Caitlin Clark so good? Everybody scores points and all this. Like, I've seen people play like she does. I don't think people see a logo 3 in the first quarter where the game is not really on the line. Like, the shot selection is somewhat disrespectful. I love it, and I think that's what's the difference with Caitlin Clark with everyone else. Of course, it's the deep threes, but people shoot deep threes and make deep threes. Paige Becker is one of the best three-point shooters in the world, but she's not going to go over half court and take a 3 from half court with a 6-7 ball game. Like, I think Caitlin can get away with it in high school. I think you can get away with it even in the Big Ten, like we saw in Iowa. But I don't know if you're going to be able to get away with that shot selection in the WNBA with the other teammates that you have on the floor and just the physicality and the height of the WNBA defense she's going to face.
Well, that of course remains to be seen. I think the league would probably like to see this. Anything that the fans will respond to, I think the league would like to see happen. And of course, there's a method to the madness. Don't forget, you make 1 or 2 of those and force them to guard you out there.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, the defense has a lot more pressure on it, and that's going to open things up for all the other players on the court on her side of the floor. So there is some method to it. But as far as what she has, it goes beyond the deep threes. It goes beyond the scoring and the passing. She has some undefinable it factor that people just want to come out and see her play. She has that I can't define it. I mean, there have been a lot of great basketball players, great women's basketball players who've come along, and why they did not have this kind of impact and Caitlin Clark does, I don't know. Whether that's the social media, Instagram, TikTok factor to it, whether it brings more young people to it, I don't know. But she has it's undeniable that she has some it factor, which you can't define, that makes her somebody that you want to bring your kids to a game so that they could tell their grandkids, hey, I saw Caitlin Clark play when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I don't want to disagree with Ben, and I agree more with you, but I think she's more like Steph Curry because she's polished. Yeah. I've watched how her work ethic, and this is the modern day player. Paige Beckers can step over the half court and sink these shots. I mean, there's more women that are doing it. Men are doing it. There's we're now seeing last night's Celtics game, 83s taken. 83s taken. Yep. They made 30. This is the new style of the game, and it reminds me of Tiger Woods when he came up. This snot-nosed kid's not going to do squat. He wins 15 majors. Yep. When Steph Curry came into the league, this guy he can't do what he's doing, and he's doing it. Michael Jordan did it. There's all Wayne Gretzky did it. I remember when Wayne Gretzky came into the league. Oh, look at this skinny little run. He's no way he's going to be this good, and he was. Just like Jaromir Jagr, it just always seems like it takes someone like this. Not to wake everybody up, but to bring more attention, shine a different light on the WNBA. Yeah. Listen, we cover it, so we love it. But not everybody loves it. There's a lot of men in the United States like, I'm not going to watch women's basketball. Now you're like, holy crap, they're really good, you know? And so to my point, getting back to Asia Wilson and I need my own signature shoe and stuff like that, everybody will in time will get the recognition they deserve. But I think you got to let it run its course, whether it's Caitlin Clark, because, the other day we were talking about this, and you're already getting season tickets sold out in places where they never got sold out. Preseason games are drawing 13,000 to the arenas. Jen Rosati told us this a year ago. Maybe it was about 6, 7, 8 months ago when we were down at Mohegan. She said the only way we're going to put butts in the seats is to bring the right attention. And I agree with what Jen Rosati. This is the right attention. This is a girl that stayed home in Iowa. This is a girl that just sits there and practices relentlessly, and it's going to cross all different spectrums here. And it's just like Tiger Woods. He became a worldwide phenomenon that really helped golf grow.
I mean, to this day, well past his prime, the first thing you hear when somebody reports on the golf tournament, well, Tiger Woods was 48th. Well, by the way, Scotty Scheffler won it. He still has that kind of pull. But I mean, I'm sure you guys have read and heard the stories, but Babe Ruth, when he came into baseball and completely changed everything, he was making 10 times what the next highest paid player was making.
And you and I know he
making,
saved the sport. The sport was dying in the 20s, and Babe Ruth brought people back to the stands.
That's right, and nobody said a word because he put money in all their pockets. The reason they were making what they were making is because of Babe Ruth. And as I say, Joe Namath had that kind of impact. Gretzky had that kind of impact. You can name a lot of them. There are a lot of great players. I mean,
Muhammad Ali in boxing. I probably wouldn't have watched boxing if Muhammad Ali wasn't so great in the 70s.
No question. And people forget, by the way, how great he was before he had to miss 3 years. If you watch some of the – I'm astounded. I was too young to remember it live. I'm astounded when you watch some of the clips of him fighting in the 60s. And you could see why, why he garnered the attention that he garnered even before all of the stuff in Vietnam.
I'd like to think that the reason the Seattle Storm drafted Nika Mule was the Final Four. And I would also like to think that the game plan when they were talking about how we're going to D-up Caitlin Clark, that Gino just looks at Nika and says, it's swan song time. Like, this is your coming out party. This is the final hurrah. And she put on a great performance, and I think that's why she got drafted as high as she did. But I don't know about her minutes in the WNBA. Aaliyah also plays tonight. Aaliyah Edwards on the Washington Mystics. They start tonight. Seattle Storm starting tonight. But Nika, in general, Dom, what do you think her path in the WNBA will be like, and really her rookie year with the Seattle Storm?
Well, I think, as you said, I think her stock rose greatly after that game. And I think a lot of teams are going to be looking for a specialist. I think, again, this is a Caitlin Clark factor. What she does, a lot of teams are going to have somebody on their roster who they could throw in her way. Seattle has that with Nika Mule. I think that she's going to have a career in the league as a specialist, as somebody who comes in for certain matchups and certain defensive moments and maybe cools somebody off who's hot. I think certainly having 6 fouls is going to be an advantage for her, right? Keep her in the games a little bit longer. But I think she has a chance to have a long career as a tough, hard-nosed player who maybe specializes in shutting down certain other players. I think she's going to have a niche, is what I'm saying. And Aaliyah Edwards, I think, is going to be a really good player. But I think Mika's going to have a niche in the league.
Talking to Dom Amore from the Hartford Courant as we get ready for Caitlin Clark in the WNBA debut down at Mohegan. We've got the men, the UConn men. Maybe our whole starting 5 could possibly be drafted in the NBA draft. Your thoughts? What you've been watching with the draft combine, and we're watching the combine game right now that they're playing. But your thoughts on possibly 3 of our guys maybe getting drafted in the first round, possibly all 5 in the first 2 rounds. What are your thoughts on UConn's back-to-back champs and some of our guys getting drafted?
Well, the one thing I keep hearing and reading a lot about this draft is that it's just not a strong draft. That it's not as deep as other drafts have been, and it's not as deep as the draft may be next year, which I think is why it may be in the best interest for somebody like a Caravan to go, because he may get drafted higher in this draft class than he might next year, even if he's a lot better. So I would not be surprised if the 3 younger players get drafted in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if, Donovan Clingan and Stefan Castle go higher than maybe people are projecting, maybe at the very top, because they're young. I mean, in a draft that's not deep, you're probably going to go for the younger guys. In a draft that's not deep, when you're late in the first round, you may go for the guy that's got a championship under his belt that knows how to win, if you're looking at a bunch of guys who kind of look the same to you. Now, the older guys, Tristan and Cam, they may not get drafted. They may get drafted late because of their age. I think the NBA, 24 is old to get drafted. 22 is a lot different. They look at 22 much different than 21 or 20. So I think those factors, along with maybe what the rest of the draft looks like, it kind of indicates to me that UConn is not going to get Caravan back and is going to lose all 5. And I think all 5 are going to find a niche in the league, too.
And I think all 5 are going to have some pretty good replacements taking their spot for the 24-25 roster for UConn men's basketball. Man, Dom, like this is possible. The 3-peat is possible. The guys we got coming back, including some of the guys that get a lot of time that people don't know how great they are. The superstar freshman led by Liam McNeely that's coming through next year. And then a couple of lights out transfers. Terrace Reed's a monster down low. And then the kid from St. Mary's, I guess, can shoot from everywhere, and he's going to be a great replacement for Cam, if you can say that. Is this really possible? Like this roster could potentially be back in the national championship?
Well, you think about trying to catch lightning in a bottle with transfers and recruits 3 years in a row. It's a huge ask. It's asking a lot. There's a reason it hasn't been done in 50 years. But at the same time, there's a reason UConn did it 2 in a row. That was also a big ask. So is it possible? I mean, absolutely. Hurley's done it twice. Why can't he do it a third time? So I would not say it's impossible. You just have to keep in mind that to try to, just because somebody may on paper look like he's a good replacement for Cam Spencer, that doesn't mean he's going to be Cam Spencer.
Right.
So just because somebody looks like he'd be a good replacement for Castle or a good replacement for Tristan Newton doesn't mean that they're going to be Castle or Newton. So you do have to keep it in mind. They may look on paper like they're good replacements. They're not necessarily going to maybe play like that under pressure, and work together like that. A lot of things have to fall into place to win 1, let alone 2, let alone 3. But with what we've seen the last 2 years, I wouldn't bet against it, and I'm in the place to do it too. But I wouldn't bet against it.
Dom, you're the best. Enjoy Caitlin Clark evening down at Mohegan.
All right.
Hopefully the Sun win. She scores 35 and everybody's happy. But first sellout since 2003. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dom.
You got it, guys. Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Actually, I think it's first opening night sellout. I don't want to be incorrect about that. I think they've sold out.
Get it right, Rob.
Yeah, get it all over yourself. First dibs question of the day coming up next. And then Mike Camposano, he is UConn boxing coach. They had a couple of national champions that we had no idea they even had boxing. Who knew? So Ben and Rob will be right back. Kirk Kaplan on the 1s and 2s. And Nick Federico in the house doing our video. We'll be right back.